Standing against the flow of the River Raisin and just west of Lake Erie rests a man-made island near downtown Monroe. Along with a public boat launch and walking bridge, Sterling Island is a small but historic landmark.
Back in January and February of 1813, there were a lot of activities out there with the invasion of the British down here, along with their Indian allies. The Native Americans came through as well. And the battle cry, "Remember the Raisin," started at that location.
Remember the Raisin, the call shouted in remembrance of the Americans who were massacred during the War of 1812. Sterling Island stands across the water from the River Raisin National Battlefield Park. Sterling Island once stood as a chain of islands in the river, but human interaction has changed the dynamic and the topography of the island.
There were a number of islands upstream that were removed to open up the river flow, and they were dumped on top of Sterling Island. So Sterling Island is really 2 or 3 islands, one on top of the other.
But the island has become smaller throughout the years. Over time, ice flows and natural debris have eroded part of the island.
We've lost some of Sterling Island. And as they found through the winters and the springs, it started to have some deterioration.
A new battle cry has been called out. Local, state, and federal officials have partnered with community members in an effort to rehabilitate the island. The Great Lakes Restoration Initiative has granted $500,000 to fund the modifications on the island that will strengthen its foundation in the river.
And there's erosion control projects being taken care of as well, with rock face and actually a jetty to help remove ice and water around the island. So it's working out pretty well.
This will return, at least maintain what we have, and return some as so the sediment will then start to connect to the island as opposed to just going past and being eroded by the ice flows.
In addition to the island restoration, construction has been completed on timber steps that will allow sportsmen and visitors to have easy access to the water of the River Raisin. This addition will prevent erosion caused by pedestrian foot traffic on the island.
If you look at a lot of the areas around Michigan, that natural resources tourism is a growing industry, and we really want to take advantage of that as we attract people to the state of Michigan. We hope that they visit Monroe, maybe an area they wouldn't naturally associate with high quality natural features, but they are here. The River Raisin is a great example, and we're bringing it back to its former glory.
Along the shores of Lake Erie rests Michigan's 1,300-acre Sterling State Park. Established in 1920, the park is home to over 1 mile of beachfront, lagoons, and over 6 miles of walking trails.
Well, currently we estimate there are over 500,000 people that visit Sterling State Park on an annual basis.
Besides offering camping and recreation activities for tourists, Sterling State Park is home to many migratory bird species, fish, and other wildlife. However, alterations to the park have interfered with the natural habitats of the animals that reside in the park.
Last part of the 1920s, they tried to create a village out there, a resort area. And they did some digging, and there were channels dug, and it didn't turn out very well.
Around the same time, local industrial companies built reservoirs near the park to utilize water as a cooling agent in their industrial processes.
You know, we talk about our companies, and it's not just what a company, what they provide for us when they're here, but even afterwards. They're still involved with our community and the environment, and contributions that are far and above sometimes what people may see. When you talk about our International Wildlife Refuge, and you talk about our waterways, and contributions to not only the city of Monroe but the county of Monroe are commendable.
Now, the Michigan Department of Natural Resources is heading the project to restore the fish and wildlife habitats to their natural state.
I look at this as an opportunity. It's an opportunity with all the same partners, public and private, federal, state, and local, to resolve this. So while it has some challenges, and there's no doubt, but I already see the benefits and value from what I hear from residents.
The project consists of 3 phases. Phase 1, to recreate an 18-acre area of Great Lakes marshland and 32 acres of prairie in the park. Phase 2, repairing existing dikes and installing water control structures to mediate water levels across 310 acres of marsh and lagoons. Phase 3, control invasive species throughout the park, including Phragmites.
Everybody to be on the same page and recognize that this is the opportunity to finalize and resolve what issues we may have, and also to move forward on opportunities to improve our habitat and improve our recreational opportunities.
The restoration effort in Sterling State Park calls for cooperation on many levels of the public and private sectors, as well as the funds to accomplish such a large task. The Great Lakes Restoration Initiative is providing $3.42 million to see the project through to completion. Sterling State Park is already one of Michigan's finest travel destinations. The restoration project will assure that wildlife remains abundant, and the hundreds of thousands of tourists that frequent the park each year will create memories that last a lifetime. Flowing effortlessly through Monroe County and downtown through the city, the River Raisin cuts its path to the open water of Lake Erie. But the river wasn't always a local attraction. During the Great Depression, the Works Progress Administration employed citizens for public works projects. At that time, the city of Monroe and surrounding areas dumped its sewage into the River Raisin. This unsanitary practice resulted in noxious odors during the summer months.
And so as a result, the dams were placed in there to help pool up the water to contain the odor. And then of course we got the sewers, and the sewers were put through the dams for connecting the north side of the river with the south side.
The dams were successful in regards to improving the area's sewer system. However, the man-made landmarks interrupted the wildlife habitat of the River Raisin. Native sturgeon and other fish species could no longer traverse upstream to spawn.
And in fact, we would like to get back the sturgeon. The original name of the river was Numasapi, or River of Big Fish in the Indian language. And that big fish was sturgeon.
Now, as part of the River Raisin Legacy Project, there is an effort to regain what has been lost from Monroe's natural resource. Several dams have been removed from the waterway, and construction is underway to create the River Raisin Fish Passage System. The project consists of 2 phases. Phase 1 reopens 3.5 miles of river through the removal of 2 dams and the installation of rock arch rapids.
It was required us to bring all these different sized stones in and sort them and then place them in a pattern that was designed by the engineers. There was different grades that had to be maintained, elevations, so that water, instead of it being a dam and then drop down and the fish can't get up, it created these tiers where fish could get in between the stones, project themselves up, rest a little bit, jump back up, and then make their way down or further upstream.
Phase 2 opened an additional 19.5 miles of river by installing 2 more rock arch rapids, constructing a small channel adjacent to Waterloo Dam, and cleaning out the Great Mill Race. $2.96 million in funding for both phases of the dam remediation are being granted through the Great Lakes Restoration Initiative.
We'll be able to open up the river from the mouth of the Lake Erie. Hopefully we'll get all the way to Dundee.
With the fish passage, we do anticipate more species, more fish being available for those anglers, and we hope that it attracts more people to the city to enjoy the river on a regular basis.
I see more and more people down at the river, and I think that's the benefit. And I hear those comments back from many people. They are pleased with the work that's already been done on the dam remediation, and they can see how the fish passage is going to work.
Thanks to the efforts of local, state, and federal organizations, and with the help of the citizens of Monroe County, the River Raisin will have new life. It will be an attraction where the fish and wildlife flourish, and a place where family traditions can be handed down to the next generation. The River Raisin, a natural asset to the community of Monroe, Michigan. Its water feeds directly into Lake Erie, one of the Great Lakes that surround the state of Michigan. From the mouth of the river to the banks of Monroe County, this waterway was once home to abundant lotus beds and large sturgeon. But the river is also home to the only Michigan port on Lake Erie. Although industries that utilize Lake Erie for business do their best to preserve the surrounding environment, over time pollution has found its way into the river bottom. Recently, an effort to remove the contaminated sediment from the River Raisin was given a green light thanks to local, state, and federal officials, as well as many area volunteers.
To remove the contaminants or the sediment of the River Raisin helps us in two ways. One, it frees up better activity at the Port of Monroe for both commercial and recreational purposes, as well as just to remove the concerns from the public when they want to use the lake and the river for recreation purposes, that there are no health concerns and they can get out there and truly enjoy our natural resources.
The type of pollutant that triggers the most concern to the ecosystem of the River Raisin are polychlorinated biphenyls, or PCBs. PCBs come from an oil used in several different industrial processes. J.F. Brennan Company Incorporated has been tasked with the mission to remove the contaminated sediment from the river. It is an effort to prevent bioaccumulation of contaminants throughout the food chain.
We're removing about 100,000 cubic yards of contaminated sediments from the River Raisin, including about 2,500 yards of Tosca material, which is a higher contamination level of material. That material is going to Belleville, Michigan, to a Tosca landfill.
The Toxic Substance Control Act was passed in 1976. It regulates any sediment containing more than 50 parts per million of PCBs must be disposed of in specified landfills.
So on this project, we have two hydraulic dredges. Each of those dredges is equipped with a pump that pumps a slurry of material, of water and contaminated sediments to the contained disposal facility up by the state park. We again did have some Tosca sediments or the higher contaminated material. We pulled that up, we dewatered it mechanically, and then we added some LKDs to it, which is a mixing agent to dry it out, and we sent that to a landfill.
You have to make sure the river's completely clean and protected for not only the wildlife but also the people that are coming.
The Great Lakes Legacy Act agreement has granted $17.3 million for the remediation of the project. By addressing the area of concern in the River Raisin, Monroe's community will see positive effects on native flora and fauna. In return, opportunities for tourism and recreation will have a beneficial impact on the local economy, ensuring the future of Monroe's only waterway is bright and full of life.